Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Stephanie White is an absolute clown as a coach. She needs to go right now. I've tried to be nice about it. I've tried to wait and see, but we are at that point where changes have to be happen. I don't care if people say, "Oh, well, Caitlin Clark's going to be known as a coach killer and all this other stuff." So what? That doesn't mean you keep a coach who cannot do the job. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all your support. Shout out to the 19. Hope you all having a fantastic day. You look great. Let's dig into this. The Fever got whipped last night in their game against Indiana, against New York. Started out okay. They look good. They started out strong. They actually had a 46-42 lead at halftime and once again got absolutely smoked in the second half. I think it was 56-38 in the second half. This is a pattern for a Stephanie White led team. Second half collapses, blowing big leads, giving up 50 plus points in the second half has happened over and over and over again. So I have something. I want to talk a little bit about the game since we're talking about some things Stephanie White said after, which is the really important part of this video. So I want to touch on a few things that we've got going on as we check out the score here. Look, Ari McDonald is a problem, and I'm not saying she's a terrible player. I think though what we're seeing is her reverting to who she is, a solid player who can have good games. She is not a starter. She's definitely not a starter on a contending team. Now, I get with the injuries and Caitlin Clark and all that, but this is something that is going to hurt the team over a few games. Look, I get the hype. I was happy that they re-signed her. She came in. She did a great job when Caitlin Clark was hurt. And I thought seeing that the difference in the energy when Ari came in, when they signed compared to what they were doing without Clark and without Ari McDonald was huge. And I think it got us all a little overhyped because if you look at Ari's numbers, nothing indicated that she was going to be able to sustain that. She was going to have to, come back to earth, as they say, a little bit, which is the difference between superstars and other players. If they're in the league, they can all have great games, but it's can they sustain that success consistently at a high level? And Ari simply can't. She's shooting 22% from three this year, yet she's taking basically a career high. I think one other time she was three attempts or more per game with 3.9. This year she's at 3.8, but she's shooting 22%. Now that's lower than normal, but still she's only a 31% shooter. She was 2 of 8 last night, 0 of 4 from 3. Aaliyah Boston had a really, really good game, and Kelsey Mitchell had a really, really good game. Sophie Cunningham got in the starting lineup. She had a really good game, 15 points, 5 of 8 from 3. Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Mitchell was getting buckets and getting to the bucket because she was average from three. She wasn't great, 3 of 9. She didn't, but she was 11 of 21 overall, getting off her shot, 29 points, but only 2 assists, three turnovers. Aaliyah Boston had a really solid game, 7 of 13, 15 points, 12 boards, which is a big deal, especially when you're playing a big team like the New York Liberty. Even 6 assists, which tied with Ari McDonald for leading the team, but 5 turnovers. And I know. Everyone's like, oh, well, you're going to dismiss him with Caitlin. It's a little different because of the way other players play, plus being the center. And I know she kind of playing a little bit of point center, but you can't have that many turnovers because you just don't handle the ball like a point guard does. Got to minimize that a little bit. But overall, Boston played really, really well. The bench was non-existent. Dantas couldn't hit. She was 0-5, but she also only played 9 minutes, which I don't understand. She only played 8 players. Lexi Hull also couldn't hit the side of a barn or the ocean, as they say, 2 of 10. Sydney Colson played 14 minutes, but you've got Ari McDonald playing 31 minutes. Sydney Colson playing 14. So they overlapped even a little bit. That's just not going to be a record for success with this team. It just simply is not. We've got to make other changes, which goes back to something Stephanie White said, which we'll get to here in a second. But Natasha Howard's got to stop pretending she's some kind of point guard. I'm really getting tired of the way she plays. She's way. Her opinion of her game is too high. She can be a solid player. She can put up big numbers against bad teams. I mean, I'm not saying she's terrible, but she's not who she thinks she is. And we got to figure out a way to maximize what she does well and stop with this other nonsense like bringing the ball coast to coast up the court because that's simply not her game. And one thing that I worry about with Stephanie White, because she seems to give Kelsey Mitchell a complete green light, and Kelsey can shoot whatever she wants, whenever she wants. Here's the problem. As much, and you all know it, because I know I'm going to get someone who says nonsense. I've praised Kelsey Mitchell's game repeatedly. I've called her the best shooting guard in the league. But having Caitlin Clark out there and playing within what we will call the Caitlin Clark system is what elevates Kelsey to another level. When you let Kelsey be, for lack of a better term, Kelsey, it's a problem. We've seen what a Kelsey Mitchell led team looks like. It never makes the playoffs. It doesn't win a lot of games. It was Aaliyah Boston and then Caitlin Clark that came in and changed everything for Kelsey Mitchell. And Kelsey Mitchell, when she adjusted and went along with it, it elevated her game. But Kelsey Mitchell being the option is not going to win a lot of games. But you see the skill that she has. So if we could just, again, a little bit like Natasha Howard, although I think Kelsey Mitchell is a much better player. You've got to do it in the right way, maximize what she brings, minimize her negative tendencies in terms of, too much of the ball and forcing some shots and all that. But we have no idea about Caitlin Clark's injury. White has no idea what she is doing. And we're going to dig into that here now because this is just absolutely out of control. So let's listen what Stephanie White says. She is asked initially about the Indiana Fever coming into the season being a contender. And she's got some really, really interesting things to say here. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to bring in Christy Sides into this conversation when you listen to what Stephanie White says.
This team was pegged as a contender, coming into the season with the talent, the depth on this roster, and obviously you guys have dealt with injury and roster changes, but what do you think is missing right now from really allowing that to click, that competition with the upper echelon to click on a consistent basis?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's for everybody else to discuss whether we were really ready to be a contender or not. Certainly there's no substitute for experience. And Tosh and Sid are the ones on our team that have championship caliber experience. And so you got to go through it. I do think, disruption in rotation, playing players in different positions because of that disruption hasn't allowed the continuity probably as much as we'd like. But you can see it in spurts, right? You can see it in certain spurts where we have that. And so being able to, the difference in championship caliber teams are those 2 or 3 minutes in a ball game. Where you can't have the miscommunications, you can't have the breakdowns, you can't have the poor shot selection, playing outside yourself, whatever it may be. Games and series are won and lost in those small margins. And right now, we might have moments, and it might be 30 minutes a game, it might be 38 minutes a game, but those 2 minutes matter. And we've got to get to the point where we're not having those moments and those lulls.
Holy mother. Oh my goodness. This is some of the most, okay, deep breath. I know we don't want to go off the deep end, right? Because, okay, so maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the Philly fan in me, but I hated everything about this. The more I hear from Stephanie White, the less I like her. She must go. This is some of the dumbest crap I've ever heard from a coach. Start off with, oh, that's not for, you're damn right it is for you to say. You're the coach. You should be setting high expectations, and you can put them out there publicly and say, yeah, you know what? We have our goal is a championship. It doesn't matter that we might not be playing well right now. It doesn't matter that our starting point guard is out. Our goal hasn't changed. We have the talent and the will and the mentality to go win a championship. We've already beaten the New York Liberty. We've already beaten the Minnesota Lynx. And we may have some rough times, but we've got a lot of season left to play. And our goal at the end is to be the only team left and to win the last game that we play. That is what you say. And this crap about experience, I am so sick of hearing this crap about experiences. This is what got us in trouble in the first place with this crap roster that we have with all these ancient freaking nursing home players like Dewana Bonner, who completely fooled the Indiana Fever and scammed them. Dewana Bonner should be suspended for the league for at least a year or two for this nonsense and what she pulled. That is 100% collusion in what she did, taking money from the Indiana Fever. She had no intention of playing here. You go and get Natasha Howard, who's been nothing. Yeah, she's had a game here or two, but she's basically been a nightmare for this team with all the MVP crap and not giving the ball to Caitlin and all that. I'm telling nothing is a substitute. Nothing is a substitute. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Stephanie White. Nothing is a substitute for experience. Are you an absolute, complete, and total moron? Because I think you are. I think you have been failing upward. I think you have the right credentials to keep getting jobs that you do not deserve and that you are not qualified for. I tell you what, I will take talent with a mentality of wanting to win, with the mentality of embracing the spotlight, with the mentality of wanting the big moments on a player's shoulders over freaking experience from a bunch of old wannabes who never have been every single time. I'm sorry, I would never ever hire a coach who says nothing is that it thinks experience is the most important thing. Great. Well, why even get Natasha Howard? Why don't you go get all the bums that are number 12 on a roster that never even play as long as they've been in the league 10 years? Are you freaking kidding me? And by the way, this whole crap about rotations and players not playing where they're supposed to be and all of that, you had Sophie White injured for a little bit, and you've dealt with the Caitlin Clark stuff. Other than that, the roster has been the roster. Ari McDonald has been here for a while now. You've already Caitlin Clark has missed plenty of games. So this whole idea that you've got all these adjustments and players playing out of position because of all the injuries and the changes and all that is a flat out lie. It just does not connect with reality, you absolute freaking moron. We having fun yet? I'm having fun. This is fun. Uh, and this is why I'm going to bring Christy Sides into it. Because look, we gave Christy Sides, rightfully so, I believe, criticism when she would never take responsibility and she would throw players under the bus. Did you listen to what Stephanie White is just saying? Everything. She didn't take responsibility for a damn thing. Not a damn thing did she take responsibility for. Because, by the way, who controls the rotations? You do, Stephanie White. You control the rotations. Please explain to me why Michaela Timpson didn't play last night. You went with 8 players against a big, big, big New York Liberty team, and Michaela Timpson never got off the bench. Never got off the bench. And Damaris Dantas only played 9 minutes. So it's almost like you went with 7 players, and your power forward, Damaris Dantas, didn't even play. Explain it to me. I would love to know. Those rotations are you. And then you talk about those 2 or 3 minutes and you talk about shot selection and everything you named, you were throwing the players under the bus, taking no responsibility for it. Kelsey Mitchell lit the New York Liberty up last night for 29 points. Where was she at the start of the fourth quarter? Where was she? I'll tell you where she was. She was on the bench. She was on the bench. That's where you decided to put her, Stephanie White. It's not where Kelsey Mitchell put her. That's where you put her. Everything about this minute and 30 seconds we just listened to is absolute garbage from someone who never should have had a head coaching job in the WNBA to begin with, for someone who cannot and will not win a championship as the coach of the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark. And hey, bookmark it if you want. I will be happy to say I'm sorry if we come back at the end of the year or next year and they have won a championship with Stephanie White. Maybe she'll have that, come to Jesus moment and say, "Oh, Caitlin, save me, go be you. I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to watch. I'm going to be here for the ride," just like Christy Sides, who, by the way, I think would be very much welcomed back by the Indiana Fever fans and given a long leash to right this ship that is quickly sinking into the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. Absolutely disgusting, these comments that Stephanie White makes. No business whatsoever being out there coaching a team like this. You take no responsibility for anything that you do. You make stupid statements about how important experience is, like it's the most important thing in the world, and it's done nothing for this team. Because I promise you, with Christy Sides, if we did not sign Howard and did not sign Colson, this team would be just as good, if not better, even with Caitlin Clark still being injured. Because first of all, she'd be better in the games that she was playing. They'd probably have a better record when she was playing. But Christy Sides would have a better record with less talented roster, which she did last year. So anyway, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I hope you did as well. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Let me know your thoughts on the future of the Fever this season, and of course on Stephanie White. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Really do appreciate all your support. Thank you so much. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.